Tennessee officials say the FBI is slow rolling the release of the trans Nashville shooters manifesto, reportedly due to concerns it could be bad PR for the LGBTQ community. Well, excuse me, but I don't give a flying rainbow about mollycoddling perhaps the most extreme, entitled, and increasingly violent community in America today. No, I care much more about, I don't know, the Nashville community and the Christian community after this trans went on a rampage and shot up a school, killing 6 innocent people. And those who have knowledge of what's exactly in that manifesto say it's dark, like real dark. During the search of the house that freak shared with her parents, authorities found and seized 20 journals, 5 laptops, a suicide note, and various other notes written by the trans shooter, as well as 2 memoirs, 5 Covenant School yearbooks, and 7 cell phones. Law enforcement personnel and those with knowledge of what's in it have shared the manifesto is really a blueprint on total destruction, and Covenant School was just the beginning of what she had planned. But of course, the fixers on the Nashville City Council are already cleaning this thing up, saying that releasing it would just be too dangerous. How? Tell me how. How does knowing what motivated someone to do something so atrocious as gunning down and killing 6 people, including 3 little kids at a Christian school, make the situation more dangerous? The innocent people are already dead. The shooter is dead. This thing was targeted at Christians, but because we aren't recognized as a protected class here in the new U.S. of gay, we just don't seem to matter, do we? There is no reason for the Nashville authorities or the FBI to keep this from the public. It's been almost a month. If it were a he, him, white, straight male Trump supporter, it would have been released day one and published word for word with bold and underline. Oh, and P.S. Like hell are we going to allow Democrats to use the Nashville shooting to push for more gun infringements when they won't even level with us on the actual motive? Hint, hint, it wasn't guns. It wasn't the NRA. You know, these same Democrats want red flag laws, but also want to protect the trans shooter who murdered Christians. No, I don't think so. The PR plan of the LGBTQ community does not override the public's right to know. And if the medications or hormones this person was pumped with to be trans had any effect on her mentality or state of mind, we deserve to know that too. And to my fellow Christians who just want to turn the other cheek again and as usual and be forgiving and quiet, you need a wake-up call. By being quiet and meek and rolling over every single time we're attacked, demeaned, or even killed, we've done nothing but send a message that we're fine with it. You teach people how to treat you, and how is that working out for us? Enough. Release the manifesto. We aren't going to let this slide, not this time. You've heard the expression, where there's a will, there's a way. Well, for Democrats, it's more like if there's any way they can speed up and exacerbate the crisis of illegals invading this country, they'll do it, and they'll do it with a smile. So here's a new one, and it combines 2 of their favorites, illegal immigration and gay issues. Democrats in the House and Senate introduced a new bill to give a free pass to basically every Tom, Dick, Harry, and Jose that comes across our border illegally. It's called the Dignity for Detained Immigrants Act. And yes, I too just threw up in my mouth a little bit. But basically, this bill would make it harder to hold illegals in custody if they fall into what liberals deem vulnerable categories, such as being gay, lesbian, or transgender, or those who don't speak English. So yeah, that pretty much covers about every single one of them. And hell, if you're not LGBTQ, you can always just identify that way. So here we go, just open the floodgates as if they could be opened any wider. Who needs a sovereign nation anyway, right? That's just so 2018. Joining me now with his take on that and so much more is Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. It's great to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Hope you're having a good day.
Well, you know, it's a day. I want to start out, I have a lot to talk to you about, but I want to start out with this Dignity for Detained Immigrants Act. You're in Texas. Texas is still being absolutely inundated, bombarded, bum-rushed by illegal immigrants. And now, surprise, surprise, Democrats are going out of their way yet again to make it almost impossible to hold any of these people. And I'm wondering what impact this and everything else is going to have on the great state of Texas.
First of all, you can tell he's not from Texas. He's from New Jersey. He doesn't think it's going to affect his state. Obviously doesn't care about the rest of us. And it's actually just hard to believe that this is a real bill, that this is actually not a joke, but a real bill. And as you know, this does nothing good for Americans. This is only good for other countries that want to send people to our country.
Well, to me, again, it's trying to say that those who come across illegally are now a protected class of people, plus an extra protected class if you fall into one of the categories that the left loves and recognizes. So basically, nobody's going to be held in custody. So I don't even know why we have a border or a border processing system anymore, because it's quite obvious that you can get around it in about 25 different ways. And we already know how easy it is to get into this country. I mean, people just line up, they come in, they get a bus ticket or a plane ticket, and they go wherever the hell they want to, and they wait for a court date that may or may not ever come by the time they've had 2 or 3 kids. So it's a joke. It's laughable. But I want to talk about what the state of Texas is doing about it, because you guys are on the front lines. You're fighting the good fight, doing everything that you can, fighting tooth and nail. And now you have this lawsuit against the Biden administration over that $1.7 trillion spending package. And your stance on it is that this is unconstitutional because it was passed without a quorum. And you're hoping to prevent some of this money from going into the pockets of illegal immigrants. Tell me where we stand with this lawsuit now, and if you have hopes of getting it through.
Yeah, so since 1789, our Congress has operated under the constitutional rule that says you have to have a quorum, which means a majority of members present. For the first time in our history, Nancy Pelosi overruled that and just decided she would let people vote by proxy. In other words, they don't have to be there. They can give their proxy to another congresswoman or congressman who could vote for them. That's completely a violation of our constitutional process and perverts the whole system. So we filed a lawsuit arguing that they cannot go forward with this bill. It's a massive spending bill of $1.7 trillion. And because those provisions affect us, they need to follow the Constitution. If they don't have to, we don't have a Constitution.
Tell me about how some of this money is going to go into the pockets of illegal immigrants, because we know that this is a ridiculous spending package. We've known it for quite some time now, but I don't know if a lot of Americans understand how this could directly incentivize illegal immigration into our country, as if it could be incentivized anymore at this point.
So there's hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars going towards helping illegals once they get here through this bill. What that also does for Texas is it puts more illegals in our state, and then we're subject to having to take care of their health care, law enforcement costs, education. And so there's actually a multiple on this bill because it affects us directly in both cost, not just fiscal costs, but then also social costs.
Well, it certainly does. And I think that that's why so many Americans who actually pay attention to the border are concerned about it, not only for Texas, but for Arizona and for every other state that's being impacted by it. And another thing I'm concerned about is Title 42. You know, that's expected to expire in May. And I wonder, it's already bad. A lot of Americans aren't really noticing how bad it is. But how much worse is it going to get when pretty much all the barriers are stripped away and it's just a free-for-all? What can you expect in Texas to happen?
So they've dismantled the whole border control process. Federal law requiring that people stay in the contiguous state, which being Mexico, or that they be detained, but remain in Mexico. They've gotten rid of that. We're fighting over that. They're not building the wall. They stopped. They've continued to pursue people and just let them go. And then Title 42 was the last remaining vestige of any real enforcement of federal immigration law. And now they're trying to get rid of that. The numbers have already gone up just in 2 years, about 300 or 400% from when Trump was in office, as far as illegal immigration. That's a massive increase. It's the largest increase we've ever seen. The numbers are the largest we've ever seen. With Title 42 gone, those numbers are likely to double again. And so we're talking about potentially a 6 to 7 to 800% increase in illegal immigration every year, with really no enforcement left for our immigration laws.
Is the state of Texas still busing these illegal immigrants to blue cities, as I know that you have done, and I know that Ron DeSantis has done is similar? Is that still a process that's ongoing in your state?
Yeah, and it's more to make a point. Obviously, we have 5, 6, 7,000 people crossing the border into just Texas alone, and just sending a few hundred, as you just noted, created a huge uproar in Washington D.C. and in New York City, in Martha's Vineyard, and Chicago. Liberal Democratic cities that were sanctuary cities that during the Trump administration were complaining that illegal immigration was being limited and that people could come to their city. And then ironically, they get a few hundred or 1,000 and they're overwhelmed by it and they're complaining they don't have the money and that it's too much. And so it just shows the hypocrisy of the left, and what they say and what they do are completely different.
My last question for you is based on 2024. If we do have a Republican in office, or if, heaven forbid, we have another Democrat, whether it's Joe or Gavin or whoever, is this situation at the border fixable? Is it a situation where somebody could come in, let's hope it's a Republican, could come in and say, this is unsustainable, we're going to fix our border situation and we're going to have actual border enforcement? Is that possible, or is it so bad already that it's going to take, I don't know, 5, 10 years, decades to fix the damage that's been done in the last 2 years?
So we can't do anything now about the people that are here, the millions and millions of people here. We can't do anything about the drugs that have already been imported. But yes, we saw under President Trump, whatever you think of him, he was effective with enforcing immigration law. And there were basically just a few things. The Remain in Mexico program, which stopped this insane asylum where people just walk up to the Border Patrol and turn themselves in and claim asylum, and then they're here. The stopping the catch and release, and at the time enforcing Title 42, and then building the wall. That's the long-term solution. All of those things took illegal immigration to some of their lowest levels. And all of that has been dismantled in a relatively quick period of time by the Biden administration. And they did it on purpose. They've given every incentive to the cartels to make as much money as they can, as fast as they can, and whether it's importing people or whether it's importing drugs.
Well, I'm hoping that we have a leader that comes back into office in 2024 that can at least stop the flow. And then we'll have to figure out what we're going to do with the millions and millions of people that are already here. That's another discussion. But thank you for everything that you do in Texas, trying to fight the good fight, even with no help from this administration. And we really appreciate everything that Texas does to stand firm. Thank you, Attorney General, for being with me today, and God bless Texas.
Hey, thank you for having me on, and thanks for covering this issue. It's really important.
Absolutely.